Hearken to Music and the Spoken Word, Sundays at 7 a.m. and 1 p.m. on Radio St. George, 100.3 FM.
Good morning and welcome to KDXI St. George, Radio St. George at 100.3 FM. It's our pleasure to present to you The Garden Show with Artie and Woody. It's time to find out, how does your garden grow? Here are your hosts for The Garden Show, Artie and Woody.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Garden Show. It's the Home and Garden Show with Woody and Artie. It's Saturday.
It's Saturday.
It's time for the show.
Oh, I'm excited.
Yep. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's Woody and Artie. We are here to talk about gardening, about home improvement tips and things.
Everything,
absolutely.
everything.
And before we get started, folks, you can contact us. If you'd like to drop us an email, it's radiostgeorge@gmail.com. It's ST, not Saint. So it's radiostgeorge@gmail.com. You can call or text us. It's 435-879-4100. 435-879-4100. Call or text us. We are on YouTube. We're on Facebook. And we're streaming on Facebook, actually. We're on Facebook Live. So that's kind of cool. You can listen to us on the TuneIn app. So that's great. Search for the call letters KXDI. So, or KDXI. I always get that messed up. So
do you?
It's KDXI, not KXDI. So okay.
Oh.
All right. Well, Woody, it's time for our big spectacular weekend show.
Yes, I'm excited, and away we go.
It's award-winning. It's wonderful content. It's educational. It's riveting. It's very exciting.
You know, I've got to tell you, I've never been riveted.
Oh, you've never been riveted?
No, yeah. But, it'll happen.
All right, folks. All right, so what are we talking about today? What is on the agenda? What should we be waiting to hear about?
We've got some different subjects to talk about, and I yesterday spent, when people like take their wife to dinner or go to a movie, mm-hmm. I sit and watch shows from England on gardening.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Terribly boring, isn't it?
Well, what have you learned?
But I've learned some stuff, and I wanted to share a couple of things, and they have to do with containers. Containers, like ceramic pots and so on. Okay. And I was kind of interested in two things that happened on this show that I was watching. I mean, I could say these things are my idea, but they're not.
Oh, you could make that up. You could have fooled us.
I could have taken credit for it.
Oh, you could have fooled us. Absolutely.
Anyway, the one thing that I thought was kind of a unique application for containers is they'll take a particular plant and plant it in a large terracotta. Now, you know what terracotta is. It's the orange thing that looks like the tile on the roof.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. And terracotta is tile, but it's not glazed. It doesn't have a glaze because the glaze seals the tile, and terracotta is unsealed, and that's important. And they take and plant, anything you can plant in a container. And then they bury the container in the ground. And they'll leave like 2 inches of it sticking out of the ground.
Now, what's the benefit of that?
Well, and that's what I wondered about. And come to find out that several things. The plants you put in the container are then confined to the container. They won't spread, okay? And that can be important or not so important. And as an example, for St. George, where we have the hot weather, And you remember we talked about when you have containers, you have to water them more often because the containers, the water inside evaporates quicker. Well, that's something, if you bury the container, not only does it slow down the evaporation of the water within the container, but the container will actually absorb water from the dirt it's buried in.
Oh, it does?
Yeah, through the walls of the terracotta.
Huh.
So it can be kind of a unique visual thing, if you will. And I know on radio we have to kind of use our imagination. But if a person had a large area and you wanted to do something unique, you could plant some of these large pots, these terracotta pots, and bury them and leave them out of the ground 3 or 4 inches so that you can see the top of the pot. Mm-hmm. And then you can adjust the water accordingly, but you would water them as though the plant was planted instead of in the container. So you save water by doing it that way. And you can put some stuff in there that normally would spread through your garden, and maybe you don't want it to spread, like periwinkle or peppermint, those kind of things, and it confines it. And it's kind of a unique idea to try something different for a different look. I can see where it would be a really unique thing if you were going to create a sitting group out in the corner of your yard or so on, and you wanted to have some plants around as like a border for your sitting group, and maybe you have a patio or a deck and you have some outdoor furniture on it, and you wanted to kind of give it an accent. The other thing that's an advantage to this is that if you put plants in there, as an example, hibiscus. Hibiscus are beautiful. They're gorgeous. They're the flower you see when you're over in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And in St. George, they do really well in the summer, but in the winter, they have to be protected. And what I've been doing is I cut them down to almost ground level, and then I cover them with a bag of topsoil to protect them so they don't freeze. Well, if you were using this application where you bury the pots, you could take the pots out and put them in your garage.
Oh, that's true.
Or some places where it's protected, and then in the spring you could put them back outside.
That's a different idea.
Yeah,
I never thought of that.
It's kind of a different approach. The other idea that they expressed that's kind of fun is, Mother's Day's coming up.
Oh, yeah.
And I happened to hit on a show that they had broadcast before Mother's Day, and they were talking about giving a gift to your mother of a potted plant. And their take on it was to buy a fairly large pot and like you go over to Walmart or Lowe's or Home Depot, and they have these pots that are already planted for you, and they'll be $30 or something, and they have
flowers
and
vegetables.
And their idea was to make it personal, to take the pot and plant it yourself, and plant it with some different varieties of plants, not just, you can put one type of variety in, but it would be kind of fun to put 2 or 3 different varieties and to make them varieties that were already in bloom.
That's a great idea.
So they'd be, really pretty, and to give that to your mother for a Mother's Day gift. And I thought that was
very meaningful.
Well, it's not something
personalized.
It wouldn't be something that, you go buy it, but you put something into it with your imagination and the plants you buy, and they had, as an example, I think 2 different kinds of plants that were in bloom, and then they had some ornamental grass in there, and then they had some plants that are just leaves and vegetation, different colors. And you have the plants that are kind of at the same level as the top of the container, and then you have the grass that's taller, and so on, and it gives a variety to the container. And I thought, that's a neat idea. In fact, that's a neat thing that you could do for your mom or for a loved one or a neighbor, and you don't even have to have a garden to do it.
Oh, that's a great idea. Maybe include a note with directions on how often to water,
exactly, and if they need sun or they need shade or that type of thing, and as an example, a place like Star Nursery, they would be able to guide you so that you got the right kind of plants where you could put them together. You wouldn't want to put half the plants in the pot that need shade and half that need sun.
That's true.
Because, that wouldn't work. So you'd want to kind of put all one kind in. If they're going to put them under a covered patio, then you'd want some that are more, the cooler shade-type plants. Or if they don't have a covered area, they're going to put them out in the sun, then you want to put something in that takes the sun. Which brings to mind one reminder I wanted to share with the folks today. Now is a really good time to plant your zinnias. Zinnias do really, really, really well down here in St. George.
What are zinnias? Explain to us what zinnias are. I have no idea what those are.
Yeah, they come in, there's about, I don't know how many different kinds and colors, but they're a plant that blooms, and they resemble a kind of a combination between a carnation and a daisy. But they come in a lot of colors and a lot of different, there's single level, there's multiple level zinnias, there's double zinnias. But the neat thing about them is if you can plant them from seed and they'll come up, okay? In fact, they don't very often have zinnias in the garden centers. But you can easily buy the seeds anywhere. They will not germinate until the night temperature is in the 50s. And the daytime temperature is above 80. So they're a warm weather bedding plant.
Sounds like they're perfect for this area.
Yeah. And the other thing about zinnias is kind of neat is they don't care too much about the soil they're in. So you don't have to worry a lot about fertilizing and drainage and everything. And the other thing is they're very, very drought tolerant, and the hotter it gets, the better they do.
Really? Really?
Yeah. And one of the things that I love about zinnias is they come in a huge variety of colors. They have lime green, they have rich dark purple, they have oranges, they have yellows, they have reds, they have multiple colored zinnias that have 2 and 3 different colors on the same bud. And one of the other things that are great about zinnias, when they bloom for a long time. A plant will start blooming at the end of June, and it'll keep blooming until frost.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And
long, huh?
Yeah, and if you take and deadhead, everybody knows what deadheading is. When the flower's done, you cut it off, and so it doesn't take the strength from the plant. It'll continue to bloom clear into October.
Oh, yeah.
And they're beautiful, and you can buy them that are 6 inches high, a foot high, 18 inches high, 30 inches high. So you can do a zinnia garden where you start in the front next to the sidewalk with the short ones, and then as you go back to the back of the garden, you get taller and taller and taller. And they're really, really a good, attractive showpiece for your garden. They are constantly in bloom all
Sounds like
summer.
they're low maintenance. They're perfect for this area. And
the beauty of the flower. If you want color in your garden, the zinnias are really a good plant. So they're a very prominent part of my garden every year.
huh. Well, sounds like
I had to take my medicine.
oh, your diet Coke there.
Yeah. I have a prescription from the doctor for it.
Mine is Diet Dew, so I can relate with that.
No, yeah, but there's no doctor that'll give you a prescription for dew.
All right, folks, it's the Home and Garden Show with Woody and Artie on Radio St. George, and it's KDXI. You can call or text us. It's 435-879-4100. You can drop us an email. It's radiostgeorge@gmail.com. And we're talking about different kind of plants, different kind of
Right.
containers and
Containers and
things
so
that
on.
you learned from the watching the video
From England.
for videos from England about gardening.
Those people in England are very, very serious about gardening.
Are they?
They really are.
Well, what else did you learn?
Nothing.
Oh,
So I want to go back to our Bible and our subjects that we were talking about last week, because we were just starting on lawns, grass.
okay.
And there's some things that need to happen with the grasses and the lawns this time of year. And I use my own lawn or place for an example. But when you start out like your house, right now we've got your sprinklers set for every other day and 5 to 7 minutes of water on each zone.
And I ran over the sprinkler head again last night.
No, you didn't.
Yep.
That one I just fixed for
Yep.
you?
Is exactly.
You didn't.
You did.
I'm going to get you, Artie. So, with the mower or with the car?
It's my stupid car.
Oh,
It's
I
right
see.
by the driveway.
I know. But here's an idea, Artie. Stay on the driveway instead of driving on the lawn.
No, I hit that with my tire last night. It's like, darn it.
You know, we
I
might
got out and
we
looked
might
at
have
it.
to use one of the tricks they do up in Salt Lake when it snows.
Oh.
They put in a 4-inch steel post full of cement, and people only hit it once, and they never hit it again. Okay, so anyway, the point I was making before I got onto Artie's driveway was that this time of year, all of a sudden, this week we're up in the 90s temperature-wise.
Is it getting hotter that quick? You know?
Well, it did this week,
Oh boy.
but it's supposed to go back down this next week. But the thing to think about is when we start into the 90s, you need to look at the watering schedule on your sprinklers. And you still want to water every other day, but, maybe it's time to turn it from 5 minutes up to 8 minutes a zone.
Now that's what you helped me out with at my place, right?
Right. And they say that in a hot climate, that a lawn needs 1 inch to 1.5 inches of water a week. Okay? So, the old way is to take a tuna fish can and put it out in your lawn, turn your sprinklers on for your 5 minutes, and see how much water's in the can when you get done.
That's a good way to do it.
Yeah. And then you got to figure, well, if I'm watering 3 times a week, I've got to times that by 3. So if there's a third of a can, then you're about in the right area. truth of the matter is, the hotter it gets, the faster it evaporates, and your lawn will start going into distress if it's not getting enough water. And what I do is I watch the lawn. I look at the lawn constantly.
You spend hours in your lawn chair watching the lawn.
I
don't you?
do. I talk to it, and it talks back.
Oh, really?
That's really the interesting thing.
What does it say?
It says stuff like, "You are great. You are wonderful."
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
That's why I like it.
You have a lawn that
That communicates.
communicates positive affirmations. To
Yeah.
you.
You have to spend a little bit more for the seed
Oh, okay.
for this kind of lawn that talks to you.
The talking grass.
Yeah. So anyway, you watch the lawn, and if it's going into distress, okay, then it starts to get dark areas, and you want to adjust your water before those dark areas get prevalent, because they turn dark and then they start to die.
Oh, really? So
Yeah.
that's a sign if
It's
you have
not getting enough
patches
water.
that are really dark.
Yeah.
Okay.
And even to the point that if you go over and put your hand down, the lawn starts to feel brittle. Instead of soft and green and moist, it'll feel dry.
Or if you have the talking grass, it will tell you.
It'll tell you.
It'll tell
it'll
you.
say, "Master, I need some water."
Okay.
And so then I give it some water.
So it nags you until you water it.
In fact, if you don't water it, after a couple of days, it starts yelling at you.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, you want to watch the water supply.
Okay.
One of the another thing that you need to think about is when it gets warm, and even if and you start to see it in distress, so you increase the water. Be really, really careful about fertilizing.
Oh yeah, I learned the hard way.
Yeah, you don't want to fertilize if your lawn is in distress, because it'll kick it into the death cycle.
Oh, I killed it last year.
The blue screen of death.
Oh, that's what
like
happened
the computer.
to me. Yep.
Yeah. So when it's healthy and it's green and it's moist, that's a great time to fertilize. When it's dry and it's in distress, that's not.
That's a disaster waiting
Yeah.
to happen.
And one factor with all plants, lawns, gardens, bedding plants, perennials, annuals, all that, even trees, is when they're in distress, if they lack nutrients or they lack water, or, maybe with a lawn there's too much foot traffic on it, that's when disease comes. That's when you get the mildew and you get the fungus and you get the insects coming in, because they really can't bother a plant too much that's really healthy and growing. But if a plant's having a hard time,
They go to town.
they can, it's like a weakness. They can see that the plant's in trouble, and it gives them an opening to come in and start to colonize or to eat or to destroy. These diseases are insidious. I like that word, insidious.
Huh.
That's the only reason I brought that subject up, is so I could use that word.
Insidious.
Insidious.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
You're throwing out big words.
That's a $12 word.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you when you do have some problems with the grass, what do? I mean,
Well,
you just
if you can,
starts to die, or if it
you
starts
can
to
listen
develop the mold.
listen to this show, and we'll help you with the problem.
Oh, okay.
Or go to someplace like Star and talk to their person, or maybe you have a neighbor that that knows more about it than you do.
Now, do you spray on that bear stuff?
You mean
On the lawn?
Miracle Girl?
Yeah.
Yeah. Miracle Grow is a real slow fertilizer. It doesn't really hurt a lawn. It doesn't put it into distress. But the first thing I would do if the lawn's got the colored, the dark spots on, is I would increase the water. Or, you're going to go to break, aren't you?
Well, finish your sentence.
No, speaking of insidious.
We have 15 seconds. Tease what you're going to talk about after the break.
Okay, we're going to talk about...
you're going to finish the sentence after the break.
Yeah, I'm going to finish the sentence. Go to break.
All right, it's Home and Garden Show with Woody and Artie on Radio Dixie 91.3.
Howdy, folks. This is Dave Smith, host of Ozark Highlands Radio. This week, we'll hear music and interviews with a talented husband and wife duo from nearby Eureka Springs, Arkansas, the Whispering Willows. I'll also be making my weekly trek down to the vault to hear Mark Jones' Tune of the Week, and writer, professor, and historian Dr. Brooks Blevins will profile the mysterious Prince Daruki this week on Ozark Highlands Radio.
Ozark Highlands Radio, Sunday nights at 10 on Radio St. George 100.3.
Hey, you know Bucci? I know Bucci from JL Auto Connections. Bucci just hooked up Radio Dixie with a sound system for our golf cart. Yeah, he did that. Custom audio installs and video and security for your vehicle. Yeah, he does that too. And after doing this for 34 years, Bucci knows that custom personal touch for your car audio at JL Auto Connections, 990 North, 1400 West in St. George.
Get your child involved with Brooks Buddies Kids Club today. For only $5, your child will get free admission to all DSU home athletic events, opportunities to meet athletes and coaches, be on the field with the players, and much more. Register online at DixieStateAthletics.com or sign up at the Brooks Buddies Kids Club table on the south side of the stadium at any home football game.
Radio St. George 100.3 FM is a low-power FM signal owned by Utah Local Radio and operated by the students at Dixie State University. We offer classical music during the day, jazz at night, old-time radio shows, music till dawn, along with Access Utah from Utah Public Radio, and a variety of talk programs from local community members. We are a nonprofit radio station serving the St. George community. We are Radio St. George 100.3 FM.
Thank you for listening to Radio St. George at 100.3 FM.
We now return to The Garden Show with Artie and Woody.
Okay, and we're back, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Home and Garden Show with Woody and Artie. We do it every Saturday morning at 8 o'clock. Thanks for tuning in. You can email us a question or two. It's radiostgeorge@gmail.com. You can call or text us. That's 435-879-4100. We are on Facebook. We're streaming the show live on Facebook. You can check it out there, or YouTube. Also, a whole bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
The TuneIn app, website, our website.
Good Morning America has us on.
Good Morning America, you bet.
And Good Night America.
Whatever that is,
Yeah.
you bet. We're heard from coast to coast, worldwide.
All the ships at sea.
Absolutely. All right, so before the break, before I rudely interrupted you with the break, you were talking about grass
and problems, yeah.
Problem issues with grass, and I rudely interrupted you. So please finish your thought.
You go out, you look at your lawn, you got some dark patches, and you think, okay, it's in distress. There's something going on. I need to check it out. And maybe I need to water more. So maybe I need to increase the water a couple of minutes per zone. The other thing you need to watch for is, go put your sprinkler control on manual and run your zone and watch it as it waters.
Okay.
Maybe the neighbor kid stepped on a riser and broke a riser, and you've got a riser that's shooting in the air instead of watering.
Darn that neighborhood kid.
Yeah.
What's he doing on my lawn?
Yeah, I have kids in my neighborhood that use skateboards and bicycles, and if they run onto the lawn a little bit, they hit the sprinkler heads that are close, the ones you run over by the driveway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and it can be broken. I don't know it until it starts to get in trouble.
So what you're saying is put a wooden bench on your porch and sit there all day and yell at the kids who
No,
get
I
on
wouldn't
your
do
lawn.
that. I sit there with a shotgun.
Oh, do you?
And I shoot them down dead.
Well, that's horrible.
Yeah, that's pretty bad, isn't it? No, I just fantasize about shooting them. I don't really shoot them. I don't even fantasize. Okay, so you want to number one is be observant of the condition of your lawn.
Okay.
Check for increasing water. Check for broken sprinkler heads, or one of the most insidious things.
Oh, you love that word.
Yeah.
That's the second time you've
is
used that
when you
this
have
morning.
a sprinkler that's plugged. It looks fine. The riser isn't broke. The kid didn't run over it, but you've got some mud or debris that's got in there, and it plugged the head.
Okay.
So it pops up like it's supposed to, but nothing comes out.
Ugh.
And then you have to take it off and try to fix it, or do what I do and just replace it and throw it away. But every spring, I'll buy a dozen heads of different kinds, quarter, half, full heads, and keep them for the summer for when something like that happens. So
I get those adjustable ones.
yeah,
So
and you have the little.
you can put them anywhere.
Yeah, and you put it has a little screw in the middle, and if you tighten down the screw, it shuts the head down, and if you open it up, it gives more water.
Is that what that does?
That's what that little screw is for.
Okay.
Okay. And so that's another thing, too. Sprinklers are made to overlap. A sprinkler doesn't sprinkle out halfway to the next head. A sprinkler sprinkles out to the next head, and the next head sprinkles out to it, and they overlap and water that way. So if your pressure changes or it starts to get clogged, you can open that screw up and make it shoot out a little bit more, or you can turn it. Maybe it's watering the sidewalk, which you don't want to do, is to water the sidewalk or the driveway.
You don't want to do that?
You don't want to waste water. So you can hold, the shaft that pops up on the sprinkler. Sometimes you have to hold the top part with a pair of pliers while you turn that screw.
Oh,
see, because
that's the way to do it.
Yeah, they're hard to turn without the head turning at the same time. So you have to hold it with a pair of pliers and adjust it as it's sprinkling, which means you're going to get wet. Okay? And so you put on your little swimming suit, your Speedo.
Absolutely.
And you go out there, and all the neighbors gather around, and you adjust the heads.
I have the lawn chair lady next door. She jumps
gets
in her
excited.
lawn chair.
Yeah.
Yep. She
Yeah.
makes a day of it.
Does she put a video camera on you?
She does, actually. Yep.
Yeah, you're probably on YouTube.
I probably am.
Yeah. So that's something to think about. You always want to water a lawn in a cycle. In other words, I'm going to set the sprinkler control up to every other day, and I'm going to set it for 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm going to do 10 minutes a zone. You don't want to change it where you do. Oh, this week we're going to water these 3 days. Next week we're going to water every other day. Today I'm going to water for 5 minutes. Tomorrow I'm going to water for 10 minutes. That type of watering is really bad for the lawn. So you want to do it in a consistent manner. And then if you think you need to make a change, like the weather's getting hotter, you change the routine, you change the cycle, and you try it for a week or so. But you don't change things daily. It's not good for the lawn. Okay? And one of the other tips that my little book gives you is to cut. Now, Artie, I don't want to hurt your feelings.
Okay.
You have to cut your grass once a week.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So it helps the lawn.
Yeah, it helps the
How
lawn.
does it help the
And
lawn?
you don't do it with a machete.
Oh.
It helps the lawn, and one of the other tips they give you is to make sure you have a sharp blade on the mower. Now, most people buy a mower and they use it for maybe 10 years until it quits running, and they throw it away and buy another one.
That's what I usually do.
And they never look underneath the mower. But especially in the spring when you start, turn the mower over, take a crescent wrench and take the blade off and sharpen it. And if you have a grinder, they're, with the wheel and so on, they're really good to sharpen the blade. If you don't have one of those, maybe your neighbor does. Or if your neighbor doesn't, you can bring it over to Woody's house and I'll sharpen it for you.
And you charge people?
No.
Yeah, you charge,
I do.
Do you?
Yeah, 50 cents.
And caffeine-free Diet Coke?
Yeah, a 12-pack.
12-pack.
Yeah. If you don't have a grinder and you're really need to sharpen the blade, you can take a file, put it in a vise to hold it, and file the edge. Okay? You want to file it at about a 45-degree angle, and you run your finger along the edge, and you can tell when it's sharp.
So you run your finger
until the blood comes out.
Until it starts to bleed. So,
and it makes a lot of difference. People don't think about it very often, but you know how when you mow, Artie, you cut the heads off on the lawn and stuff
of the sprinklers,
yeah,
I do that
and you
all
hit
the time.
the rocks,
Yeah.
and so on. That dulls the blade.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And if you start your mower and it kind of vibrates a lot after you hit something, it probably means that you nicked the blade and it's unbalanced.
It's throwing it off.
Yeah.
Wow.
Or it bent the blade.
Huh.
And you can go over to Lowe's has quite a selection of lawnmower blades, and they run about $15 a piece, and you can buy a new one. And if you can't sharpen it, it's not a bad idea to put a new blade
That's
on.
a good idea. I didn't know you could replace those blades.
Yeah, you can. And all the blades they sell are mulching blades, Artie, so you don't have to have a catcher on.
I learned that the hard way.
I know.
Yep. I lost my catcher, my grass catcher.
Right. That's probably a good thing in the long run.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Well, talk to us about that.
Well, because you don't have to have a catcher if you have a mulching blade.
But how does it help the grass?
It puts organic material into the roots of the grass. A mulching mower will cut the grass into 1/4-inch pieces,
Okay.
instead of like inch pieces or 1.5-inch pieces. And if it's a long piece like that, it's too big to break down into the soil. But if it's a 1/4-inch piece, it'll actually it'll be like your own little compost pile in your lawn.
Okay, so that's how that works.
Yeah, and it's giving your soil something that it needs. And so let's see. Oh, and then we talked about fertilizing. I don't know. Do you have any other ideas or questions about lawns?
Well, okay, so all right. Now, I damaged a little corner of my lawn last year,
Right.
Because I think we figured out that it was being overwatered.
Overwatered.
Yes.
Well, overwatering is a bad thing
And
for a lawn.
I didn't think about that because I was thinking,
You can
how
tell.
did that die?
You can tell it's being overwatered when you walk and there's frogs that jump.
Oh,
That's a symptom
So that's
for
a sign, huh?
overwatering. Yeah. Or if you get cattails to grow up in the middle of your lawn.
Ooh.
You know, those things with the brown
Yeah.
top. Yeah, like you had in yours.
Well, okay, so
Plus, your water bill comes, St. George City, about $2,000
Oh,
a
my
month
gosh.
in water bill.
yeah.
I've taken my medicine.
Well, okay, so last year I overwatered a little section and it died. So I thought that, and of course I had no idea what I was doing. I still don't, actually.
And overwatering also can bring diseases into your lawn.
And mold, like you said before.
Yeah, a mildew.
Mildew, okay.
Yeah.
So I thought
Mildew is insidious.
that's the third time.
I know. That's $36 I owe somebody for that word.
No, that's awesome. So you opened up the dictionary this morning. You decided today I'm going to use insidious.
Well, we
as
have
many times as I can.
part of our audience that listens for vocabulary reasons.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So what's the definition?
Of insidious?
Yeah.
It's bad.
Oh, okay.
In the Webster Dictionary under insidious, it says bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Or it says insidious is insidious.
It's insidious.
Yeah.
Okay.
It uses a word to define the word.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's right next to deciduous.
Wow. Huh.
You remember deciduous from last week?
Yeah, that was a fun word.
Yeah.
That was another fun word.
Yeah, that's an $11 word.
Is it?
Yeah.
Huh.
All right.
So what were we? We were talking about my lawn. Okay, so the little corner of my lawn died, and so of course I didn't know what I was doing, and I threw some fertilizer on, which burned the whole thing, and it created a big mess. And it was September, so guess what I decided to do in September, because I had no idea what I was doing. I threw on some grass seed.
Oh,
and then I put some sod over that, and it didn't.
Boy.
Yep, nothing happened. And then I got some sod, some pre-grown grass, and I put that down, and of course that died.
You know the manual that you use for lawn care?
Yeah.
The one that says how to screw up your lawn?
That's
the one you're using.
My goodness.
You did, what, was 3 or 4 of the worst things you could do to a lawn?
So, yeah, of course I have no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
And then I took your advice this last year, and
it's looking better.
It's looking a lot better. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
So tell us what I did wrong. Well, of course, fertilizer was wrong. Planting in September was probably wrong.
Too much water.
Yeah,
and then you were hurting the frogs. The neighbor kids that lived by Artie were selling frogs for 10 cents a piece on the street corner.
That's what they were doing.
Yeah.
I need to get one of those benches to put out in front of the house.
Yeah,
like
and
we
watch
talked
them.
about.
Yeah.
And yell at them.
And use a BB gun to shoot them. Don't shoot them with a shotgun like that.
No, I'll just yell at them.
Oh, okay.
I'll just yell. It'll give me something to do.
Okay.
Because, when you get older, you're supposed to yell at people.
Apparently, because they sure do that a lot, the older people, don't they? The next thing I want to move to the subject is grasses, but I want to talk about ornamental grasses.
Okay. Well, what does that mean?
Those are grasses that you don't mow, that are longer, and you put them into a garden or a home area for accent and for color. One of the ones that you and I both like are the Mexican
voodoo plants.
Yeah, Mexican. What's it
Mexican
called?
fantail,
fan grass, something grass. Anyway, they've got them all over the place over at Thunder Junction, and I bought some for my yard, and I really like them.
Are they expensive?
They're like a gallon pot for $7 or $8. And they're really easy to take care of. You don't want to overwater them. You want to put them in an area that maybe it doesn't get watered all the time.
Which is my whole property.
Yeah, you want to water them maybe once a week. But grasses you can get are you can get different lengths, different colors. They have grasses that are a blue-green. They have grasses that are purple. They have grasses that are red. And you can use them for accent. These people that put in gravel, and they'll have a different colored gravel that looks like an old stream bed.
Yeah.
One of the neat things you can do is put 2 or 3 pieces of this grass along the stream bed.
Oh, create your own design.
On the edge.
Yeah.
And they really are great because not only do they vary in color, but they can vary in height. They can vary in circumference. And they're drought tolerant, and they're easy for the amateur to deal with.
That's me.
Yeah. And really about the only care you have to give them is in the spring, you cut them down to a kind of a mound, 2 or 3 inches high, and let them start growing again. And they really look good, and they add a lot of accent. You can use them in containers.
Yeah.
I have a little fountain in my backyard.
Oh, I love it.
I know you like the fountain.
Yep.
And on the side of the fountain, I have a couple of these little different kinds of grasses because I'm trying to make it look like that the fountain is growing in or the fountain is placed in an area that has vegetation. I read in my Birds and Blossoms magazine that the birds are more comfortable using the bird bath and the fountain to drink if there's vegetation around it because they feel safer when they're in there taking their daily shower.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they have a shower. They have little towels they dry off with, and yeah, it's good.
Huh.
Yeah.
So you lay out
You'll
little.
you'll see one bird giving the other bird a little back rub.
Oh, that's interesting. That's
Yeah.
why. So that's why you have little towels. You made little towels,
Yeah.
little bars of soap.
Yeah, and I have little hanger for the towels where they dry. And
Wow, you sure went all out.
yeah,
All out with that.
well, I love the birds.
You know, and you have that home that you made this last year.
A bird house,
A little bird house.
Oh, the other
And
day,
you furnished it. And you ran some cable up there.
The other day, I'm sitting. I just got through mowing the lawn, so I have to sit down so I can breathe for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm having a cola beverage,
Okay. Which is now legal.
which is because I have a prescription.
Yep.
And lo and behold, up in my Texas umbrella tree or Chinaberry tree, there's a hummingbird.
Oh, wow.
And I'm watching this hummingbird, and if you kind of watch it, all of a sudden it lands on a limb. And then, lo and behold, here comes another hummingbird. Now, hummingbirds don't hang out in pairs unless they're mama and daddy. So I think that in my Chinaberry tree, they're building a nest.
Oh, cool.
And they are really neat because they always build their nest where the limbs fork.
Mm-hmm.
And their nest will be about the size of a large marble.
Oh, wow.
And they build it out of saliva, and like this time of year where you have the cotton that comes off the trees and floats around and is annoying, the hummingbirds grab that and they go make it their nest out of it, and they mix it with saliva, and when they get through, it's this hard little half circle or half cone, and they sit on that and they lay eggs. And
We have one of those at Thunder Junction.
do you?
Yeah.
And if you get up on a ladder, don't touch the nest, don't touch the eggs. But if you get up and you'll scare mom and dad away, and you look in the nest, and there'll be little eggs in there that are about the size of a little teeny jelly bean.
Wow.
And there'll be 3 or 4. And it's really neat to do that. And then mom and dad come and they dive bomb on you to scare you away because they get really aggressive when you get by their nest. And, you'll have a hummingbird go by your head about 140 miles an hour, about 2 inches from your ear, and it scares you.
It's scary.
And then you fall off the ladder and your wife gets mad at you, and
And you end up in the hospital.
And you end up in the hospital.
it's not
Yeah. So it was expensive to look at those eggs. But, and then they'll incubate the eggs, and, mama will be sitting on that nest. And if you look from the bottom up, all you see is a little beak sticking out.
That's exactly what we
Yeah.
what we noticed at Thunder Junction.
Yeah.
It's right in the station terminal.
Oh, up in the roof.
Yeah, up in the roof, and it's actually it created its little nest on our sprinkler system. We have a little sprinkler system
Misting
system, which actually broke.
Yeah.
So the bird knew that it was broken, and
They use it to nest.
they use it to nest because they know that the city will take about 3 months or 4 months to get the mister repaired.
Yeah, they'll fix it when fall comes. Because that's when you need the misters.
Exactly.
When it's 50 degrees, not when it's 110.
Exactly. So they know that.
Yeah.
And so they were able to, create their little nest there, and it's actually kind of cool.
It's kind of neat to watch the birds from one cycle to of family life. You know, the laying of the eggs, the nesting of the nest, and then the birth. And you look up there, and instead of one little beak sticking out, there's about 4 of them sticking out that are about a 1/4 inch long. And mom and dad, boy, they take turns. One of them guards the nest. They don't always sit on it once the babies are born, but they'll be within 3 or 4 inches sitting on the limb, guarding it. And then the other bird brings them some food and some nectar and so on. And then within a couple of weeks, you've got little baby hummingbirds. And I'll tell you, when they come out of that nest, they are little. They are about the size of a large bee.
Oh, wow.
That's about how big they are. And you'll see them on your honeysuckle and your different plants that hummingbirds like, and they're little teeny things. And you almost want to go get your fly swatter, and then you realize it's a baby hummingbird.
Baby hummingbird.
Yeah.
And you actually feed those.
Oh, yeah.
With your mouth, you regurgitate.
Oh, yeah. Well,
you regurgitate.
I put leftovers out. They like ribeye steak is one of their favorites, and you know.
So you put you. I thought you chewed it up for the little birds,
see,
and then you
now
regurgitated them in their beaks.
See, that's worse than just putting the ribeye out.
Oh,
Yeah. If I had to do that, Artie, I would.
You would, huh?
I would. You bet. Yeah. And if they were mindful or being kind to me, they'd come sit on my shoulder. But they don't.
They don't, huh?
But I love to watch them, the different little baby birds.
Awesome. Spring's a wonderful time.
One of the things that my wife and I have enjoyed is we have some big mulberry trees, and we have robins that nest in it. And robins will come back and nest in a tree where they were born.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, they'll come back to the same location every year. And, with robins, you can hear the babies squawking because they want to get fed. And then all of a sudden they're trying to learn to fly. And usually they call it fledge when they leave the nest. Fledge, yeah. And most of the time they take one little flight from the nest to the ground because they usually fail on their first attempt at flying. And then for 3 or 4 days, the little baby robins will be around the yard, and mom and dad are watching them and giving them instructions on how to fly.
Flight lessons.
Yeah.
The little flight lessons.
So you'll have 3 or 4 of these little baby robins that are about 2 inches high, and they're kind of a ball of fluff, and they're trying to learn to fly, and it's really fun to watch them.
And it's interesting how you were able to make this little mini airport landing pad.
Well, yeah,
to help the
helps
birds.
them. And I kind of have a slide thing where they get at the top, and then they go down the ramp.
So that's
and then they go off into the air. And
wow,
yeah,
huh?
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
I didn't know you built that.
Yeah, I did. I had to keep them off the ground because Elvis would eat the birds. So
Elvis is the tortoise.
He's a tortoise, and he's a bird-eating tortoise. So that's why I had to sell him.
And it's interesting how he would actually get on his hind legs and jump up and
yeah.
So
he was insidious.
That's the 4th time you used that
know.
word. That's awesome.
Tell him about my new tortoise.
Oh yeah. Harvey. So I guess you got rid of Elvis. Now what was the reason?
Well, he was eating the birds.
He was eating the birds,
and he was
jumping
eating
all
my
over
garden,
the place.
and he was eating the squash, and he was destroying the yard. One of the bad habits tortoises have, they eat the lawn, And I don't mind him eating the lawn, but he would pull up the lawn, and he would eat the lawn, the roots, and the dirt.
The whole shebang.
The whole 9 yards of it. And so by the end of, say, July, instead of having a lawn, I had dirt.
Wow.
So
you got him a good home.
I got
you
him
found
a
him a good home, and you replaced him with Harvey.
With Harvey. And Harvey's a bigger tortoise, but he has a lot better manners around the house.
It hasn't moved since the day you
know.
You got it.
That's one of the good things about Harvey, and I don't have to feed him.
You don't feed him.
And he has a smile on his face.
And he's always smiling.
Have you ever seen a tortoise that smiles?
No.
If you need to see one, go over to Star Nursery. They have large concrete tortoises that smile.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you got one of the
I got
concrete
one of
ones,
those.
huh?
I had to have a crane come and put it in the backyard because I couldn't lift it. They weigh 250 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So he even weighs more than Elvis. And the other thing that I love about Harvey is when I sit out there, he talks to me.
He talks to you too?
He does.
So you have the grass talking to you.
And Harvey.
You have Harvey, the
and
concrete,
birds.
and
the
birds
talk
to
to
you.
me. Yeah.
Wow.
And my wife talks to me.
Uh-huh.
So it's great.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, we kind of got off the subject of gardens today, but it was fun.
Oh, lots of fun. We have 2 minutes left.
Oh, no.
Any parting thoughts?
Yeah, go get you a Harvey at Star Nursery. You'll love him.
You get a kickback for every concrete ornaments that's sold there.
When you go over to the nursery, be it Home Depot, Lowe's, or Star, wherever you go, look at their grasses, their ornamental grasses. I tend to walk through and I look for plants that are in blossom that are going to be pretty. But sometimes it's the other kind of plants that add interest and beauty to your garden. That's my thought for today.
Okay. All right, folks. Well, I think that wraps it up for another exciting, riveting, and entertaining Home and Garden Show with Woody and Artie on KDXI, Radio St. George, 100.3. Of course, if you'd like to email us, we'd love to hear from you. It's radiostgeorge@gmail.com. You can text us. A message is 435-879-4100. Drop by our Facebook page. You can view the whole show as many times
Next week,
as
we're
you
going to talk
possibly
about
can.
herbs and succulents.
Oh, there we go.
There's another $12 word.
Succulents.
Succulents.
So we're going to be using that a number of times.
Yeah, we are.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about some stuff that's insidious.
Wow. I didn't mean to cut us off that quick.
That's all right.
All right. Goodbye, folks.
See you later, Gator.